Okay, so anybody who is familiar with Tina Turner might kind of recognise where I've ripped the lyrics from What's Love Got to Do with It off. So to tell you a bit about my background, a few years ago I was told, you're the quality manager now. My background was all in testing, so I kind of went, what's a quality manager? Well, what does that person do? Just do the quality. So that was really helpful. So I started looking into what quality was, and this is kind of the story of my journey and the conclusions that I came to. And you may agree with some of my conclusions and you may not, and I hope you just enjoy the slides anyway. A little bit about me. I'm the lead testing engineer for a consultancy called Scott Logic here in London. I'm on Twitter. I'm very sweary on Twitter, so if you don't like sweary people, don't follow me. I'm also on LinkedIn where I swear less because I've been told I have to. And I've been in testing and the quality game for about 19 years. So I'm going to start the evening by telling you a little short story. Okay, so here's my short story about quality assurance. Somebody told everybody about quality. Everybody said, we want quality. It sounds like great stuff. Nobody said, what is quality, except me, apparently. And then nobody thought really of how to talk about it, except, you know, just do it, okay? So everybody was waiting for anybody to start doing quality. There was no quality. There was only the great silence. Any Doctor Who fans in the house? So these are the silence. These are bad, bad people, well, aliens in Doctor Who. And the thing about the silence is, after you've encountered them, you don't remember the bad stuff that they've done. Kind of like being on projects without any quality. So somehow you struggle through, you fix whatever's wrong, whether it's the testing, the development, the requirements, the DevOps, the pipelines, the environments, whatever it happens to be. And then you kind of forget. You think, okay, we got through that, we fixed whatever that was. And you start at the beginning, you don't decide what your quality benchmarks are for your next project, and then you have to start fixing the stuff reactively all over again. And I call that just the silence, because we need to start talking about this stuff. So I'm banning the silence, they're gone. So on my QA journey, part of what I wanted to do was understand how we'd got to where we have with modern QA. So I did some research. Had a look at a lot of blog posts, white papers, industry leaders, people who are great thinkers around testing and development. Some people claimed it's a mindset, it is a way of thinking. How can I get more quality into this? Is it a discipline? Should we practice it? If I do it for 100 hours, am I a master? Is it measuring? Is it metrics? If I go, I have 0 bugs, have I got quality in my product? No, you haven't. Is it management? So a lot of people thought if you sort of put this layer of management into software delivery, you have quality. Is it construct? So is it like big A, little a agile, something that's just been so bastardized that nobody actually knows what it is? Is it certification? You can get quality certification now, did you know that? You can say, I am quality certified, and go out there and do the quality. Is it something that's baked in? It's baked in. So you do it from the beginning, but if you don't know what it is, how do you do it from the beginning? Do you kind of see the problem here? Is it something that we add on later on? So we do a bit, maybe a minimum viable product, and then we decide what quality looks like? Is that how we do it? Is it dynamic? Is it doing things at a certain pace and speed? Is it making sure that we come out of every sprint in a certain state? Is that quality? Or is it some or none or all of these things? So what I found from my research, I had more questions than when I started my research. So then I started to have a look at how we'd got to where we were with the idea of QA. And this is Margaret Hamilton, who I love. So some of the main thinkers in quality through the ages, and okay, so you can argue with me the names on this list and say where are the Lovelaces and people like that. These are the people that were thinking about what quality was as opposed to what software delivery was, as opposed to what programming was or anything particularly like that. Walter Stewart, because he was the first one that started to think in a scientific way about actually how do we say that we have quality in a measurable type of way. Turing, because he asked the question about how do we actually test the programs that we're writing. During, I've lost my speaker notes, so I can't actually see it at the moment, but when I wrote it, it was a damn good point. Weinberg in the 1960s, who was the first thinker really on programming, who wrote a chapter about testing and how important it was in contributing to quality. And then in the 1960s, all the collaborations that NASA did to deliver the software that drove the spaceships into space. And also, from the 1960s onwards, the thing that's really interesting is, prior to that, we'd been thinking about quality as a way to deliver software, machinery to kill people. From the 1960s, we were thinking about it in terms of how to put people up into space. Margaret Hamilton is here for her self-testing code. I love, 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 and I've run out of love. There we go. So, QA for me over the last 19 years has been all about acronyms. So it's ISOs, it's ICEBs. All this gives you quality, apparently, all these sort of acronyms and certificates or whatever. But actually, the main thing that I've seen is the massive conflict that we have in speed versus quality. So we're keen to put a minimum viable product out there. We want to be the first into the marketplace. We want our product to be the one that people talk about, the one that broke the ice, the one that shattered the ceiling, whatever it happens to be. We have people concentrating on quality and saying, but it must be performant, but the UX must be usable. People must actually want to sort of engage with the product you're putting out there. So how do you reconcile those two dynamics of quality and speed? Is it possible to actually do that? Well, without understanding what quality is, no, it is kind of very hard to do that. So we're back to the question, what is QA? And because nobody could answer for me what modern QA should be, I kind of had to write the definition for myself. You're either going to love or hate this. I'm Irish, so we don't know how to say things succinctly, so they end up being quite well defined. So QA is the right features and programs. Don't think I could really argue with that. Being delivered in the right way at the right time. By a content team who understand their user or customer. Now, when I originally did this talk, I put a happy team up there. And funny enough, I got a lot of pushback on this because people can't be happy all the time, which is a fair point. So a content team. And if you think that you are doing the right features and programs and you're delivering them in the right way, there's a 50% chance that you're content. You know, there might be your house is burned down, your cat's bitten you, your kids are feral, you know, all that stuff could be going on. But as it regards your delivery and your software, you're going to be fairly content. Also confident that they're doing the right activity at any given point in time. I told you this was not going to be succinct, so sorry about that. And as a bonus, because there's always a bonus feature, it should be inheritable and repeatable. So when you've gone to the trouble to figure out what quality is for you and what it is for your team, you should be able to do that program after program, project after project, or however you do your deliveries. Don't want to read it? Quality's hard. Okay, it is. It's just hard. But that's okay, because it's when people a lot brighter than me, these people here, were figuring out what quality was. The technical landscape that they were figuring out quality in was a lot smaller, even though it was massive, great big mainframes. But the pace they moved at, the amount of people that had access to that technology, and the sort of sheer global reach of the technology was absolutely tiny compared to the considerations that we have to give this stuff today. Sorry, I'm going to make you read this all over again. Right. So, what are all the things we have to do properly in order to deliver quality? Architecture. So you have to start with what you put on the piece of paper that you're nominating for your, the design of your thing. You have to get the design right. You have to pick the right tech. Otherwise, you get those two wrong, don't bother, go home. Right? There's no point in doing any of the rest of it. Your DevOps, if that applies to your project, it doesn't apply to all projects. And I've called deployment out there as a separate activity. Just in recognition of all our colleagues who work on non-DevOps type projects, maybe they do desktop transformation and digital transformation or stuff like that, that don't necessarily have DevOps pipelines. Your development. You can do, you know, the most beautiful architecture on paper, the most fantastically proposed integrated design, but if your developers are continually writing code that doesn't deliver what you need, either in a performant or a functional way, your quality is going to suffer. Your testing. Your testing has to provide you with the information that actually your architecture, your design, your DevOps or deployment, or both, and your development are working in the way that you wanted to. And testing is not there to provide quality, okay? It's there to provide the information about all the other things to see if overall quality is actually there. Your environments, your governance. So governance is a bit of a dirty word in Agile and in testing at the moment, but actually you have to have some sort of way to know if the measures that you're taking to inject quality and understand the quality and all of these things are actually there. And I'm not talking about the great big massive spreadsheet reports that we used to produce 15, 20 years ago, lightweight mind maps, whatever that happens to look like and works for your environment. And then your teams. And this comes back to what the last slide where I was talking about happy teams, the right balance of teams. If you've got a team of ninjas, they're all going to fall out with each other because everyone's going to be wanting to do their thing. You've got to have doers or sayers, ideas people, want to work in a corner with a blanket over their head type people. You have to have the right mixture of teams to be able to deliver all this stuff. And tools. Well, we've seen a great example of some tools used by the presenters in the previous presentation, but you have to have the tools that are fit for purpose. And I've seen a lot of teams that I've gone and talked to, they've gone, well, we know this tool and we want to use this. Okay, that's really nice, but how do you know it's fit for purpose? How do you know it's fit for this environment? How do you know it's going to work with your integrations? How do you know your BAs are going to review the tests that are in it when you send them to them and actually understand what they mean? It's not just your comfort level with a particular tool that dictates your use of it. And then your reputation. This is a massive part of your quality. This is taking your customer considerations into your quality as well. Are your customers actually happy with what you're doing? Are they feeding back that they're happy with what you're doing? Because you can do everything else right, but actually if you're not capturing your customer wants and needs and anticipations in a way that feed through all of this, you're not doing the right thing. And then yes, last of all, getting that customer feedback at small and regular intervals to make sure that you're doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, by content teams. So, does anybody know who this is? So these are some pioneers of quality from the 1960s onwards. This is Annie Easley. She delighted her customers, part of our quality mandate. Her code was used in a lot of the early hybrid vehicles. An advanced version of her code is currently used in the latest version of the Toyota Prius to come out. And you know who this is? Yes. Grace Hopper. Invented tool, she, advocate for better tools, invented the compiler. Love you. And you know who this is? This is Miriam Mann, an advocate for better teams. So once upon a time within NASA, if you were one of the coloured girls who code, you went and sat at a special table, special desks, away from the other coders. Absolutely ridiculous. And she was the one that absolutely fought the good fight to make sure that all the coders were looked on a level playing field. And then Margaret Hamilton again, because, you know, self-testing code. So, there's two ways that we've traditionally done ownership, and I cringe at that word, of quality. We've left it to one person who's the quality manager, the quality lead, they're one person. So here's what happens if you leave quality to one person. Holes start to appear. Can one person look after all this and make sure you're being performant and diligent and do what you need to do and everything's right? On an enterprise project, that's impossible, absolutely impossible for one person to do. So, you know, the cracks start to appear. And having been that one person, I can pretty much tell you that's what you end up like, running around in circles, chasing your own tail. It's absolutely impossible to do. And the environment I was trying to do it in, we only had 7,000 users. I would hate to see what this looks like in a bigger environment with a bigger tech stack and more customers to worry about. So let's leave quality ownership with everyone. We have T-shaped teams now, so we can kind of, spread the load. Everybody in the team take on a bit. That's one of the principles of the T-shaped team. And quality will just magically happen, because life is a Harry Potter novel and quality is just magic. If you put all the ingredients into the cauldron and go abracadabra, those the right words to make the quality happen? I don't know. So I've just got one comment to that. Because it doesn't just happen. It's a very deliberate decision and analysis and engaged people coming together to make that happen. So some solutions. I've told you all the problems. It's time to start talking about some solutions. Okay, so as a team or a program or a project or whatever you happen to be, treat quality assurance as a dynamic and a mindset. So it's something you want to work towards, and it's something you want to be continually thinking about. If you don't know how to do that within your teams, ask yourselves honestly, is there space in our teams for a quality coaching role? Someone to come in and show us how this is done. In absolute revelation, this is what I do at the moment, surprisingly enough. And this is not, so when I did this at Southwest Test, I had some very indignant Scrum Masters stand up and tell me, you just want to take over the Scrum Master role. No, believe me, dudes, I do not want to take over the Scrum Master role. You are welcome to it. This is a role that can be played in waterfall teams. It can be played in fragile teams. It can be played in, we've given up on methodology teams as well. This is not just an agile role, and it's not an agile coaching role. So what is it? It's mentoring in how to solve the problems that you can take responsibility for. And then it's showing you, if you haven't a clue how to solve the problem, the quality problem that's in front of you, how to make whatever it is, the business case, the technical case, the standing in front of your team and pleading with them just to help you as a team fix this problem. So it's not about, it's about getting people to that space. And I do see an awful lot of agile teams, as they're standing their teams up in a new environment or a new domain for the first time, what they do is they bring in an agile coach to help them find their agile path together. And this, in the same way, you could parachute in a quality coach to fill that role as well when you're bringing new teams together for the first time, or you think that maybe your existing teams need a bit of refresh and sort of treating quality assurance as a dynamic and a mindset. And then also, so that coach isn't there forever. So it's not a get in, legs under the table, get comfortable, I'm the coach now. It's not. You should be planning from day one when you're exiting that team and leaving behind quality champions in your place. That will then breed other quality champions as well. Pretty much the same as the Scrum Masters that are parachuted into teams to help out do. So what's the outcome of all this? So instead of going, oh my God, we've so many bugs, what do we do? You go, okay, so here are the areas we could potentially have bugs in. Learn things like risk recognition, learn things like pattern matching to be able to identify when you could be able to find defects. Look at where other teams in the organizations have gone wrong before. Not necessarily lessons learned. Sometimes I found defect logging systems a great source of information, because you tend to be able to find patterns and to help new teams that are forming in that environment to be able to sort of identify and counteract those same sort of problems. One environment that I went in, one place I went into, absolutely terrible at non-production environments, and not to the point of the problems talked about in the last talk. It wasn't just that they didn't understand that they were building, they thought they were building down, scaled down versions of non-production environments, and it took me really to explain to them to go, Well, just because you have a server with, half the amount of memory of the one that's in production, that isn't the only factor that makes it a scaled-down version of a production environment. You've got to also think about all the other characteristics of that server as well, and it's impossible, actually, in principle, to have a truly scaled-down version of a production environment. So you really got to stop thinking in that way. And also, as part of this, you give teams a set of practices to put into action when they foresee a problem. So again, with this example from another environment I went into, the support teams didn't know what to build for the non-production environments for the testing team, because the level that the testers communicated at didn't give them enough information. So they basically did the best that they could, or they took all their information from the non-technical program managers as well, who just said, well, the testers need to test this change. Can you build the environment that makes that happen? And they might have deployed the change into that environment, but they forgot to put services in. They might put the wrong version of a microservice. And one very memorable incident when we went in one morning, it turned out that the server that they'd installed the logging on only had about, yay bit of memory, so fell over every time you tried to do a simple guess on one of the back-end services. So yeah, that was fun. So coaching can be extended to any team member at any level. So this isn't about a coach coming in and going, I'm so clever, I have all the knowledge, I can do all the things, and then the minute I'm gone, there's a gap. What the coaches can go from the top of the hierarchy in an organization right down to anybody that you want to get involved in this process. So what you can leave behind is a quality mindset within the whole of the organization. And also, and this is the bonus for me, if you do something like quality coaching, what an awesome thing to be able to tell anybody who's interviewing with you. We take quality so seriously. We bring in quality coaches to show us how to do this. And they leave behind people who are quality champions. So that's something you can get involved with if you've been through environments where quality wasn't taken seriously and you've been left frustrated as a result. So apologies for the star. Yes, I made a beautiful silver one and then I lost it. So my big point around this one is that actually, forget being a T-shaped member of team. You end up being star-shaped because you're thinking about your proactive and your reactive quality. You're thinking about your test. You're thinking about your dev. You're thinking about your analysis, be it business, technical, whatever layer you're looking at. And everyone's infected in this way. It's not just the teams themselves. And I apologize for what I wrote on the bottom. It was funny at 11 o'clock last night. Okay, that's it.